Hi, welcome to the Woods fans. It's Melissa Woods. I'm so excited today. I finally get to reveal my dining room makeover with you guys. When we took on our major home renovation over the course of this last year, this summer was especially hard because we took out a huge wall in the interior of our house between our dining room and our kitchen. So let me show you first the before pictures. You can see that this room was particularly dark. Although it was painted a light gray with some white trim, the windows trim didn't match. We had a large wall that basically housed a big closet. And then we had this drop ceiling that was put in a long time ago to basically help with heating costs of the house. But since the house now has updated HVAC, it's really unnecessary and quite unsightly. So our plan was to take out the drop ceiling and reinstate the 9-foot original ceilings in this house, as well as remove the big closet because it was kind of an odd spot for storage anyway. Once the wall was gone and the closet was removed, our plan was to replace the small door that once went onto our porch with a big patio door to flood the area with light and really make the porch more usable from being right off the kitchen and dining. For the most part, we hired this project out. I consulted with structural engineers to make sure what we were taking out wasn't load bearing, and I then hired out a contractor to remove the wall. He sectioned off basically the entire dining room, and it got so dusty busting through those old plaster, and I actually think some was cement board too, walls, that the whole room was black from all the sediment in the air. It was crazy. During that same time as when I was doing my DIY counters, you might remember that I fabricated counters out of solid surface in our kitchen back in, I think it was June. So around that same time that the wall was being removed, that was happening and our house was complete chaos. So I want to show a clip right now of basically an Instagram story I shared with some behind the scenes about what the condition of our house was at the time. You know, one thing that was really crazy is when we took out the wall and then we were getting ready to drywall, there was a lot of wood paneling that had then been wallpapered over, that had then been painted over through the years of our dining room. And this is because our house is 130 years old. So there's been a lot of changes throughout time. When we finally got all that down, we expected to see plaster. We did, but the surprise was that there was actually a door. A solid wood exterior door that had been underneath all the wood paneling and basically blocked off long ago that led to the center of the dining room. And I kind of wondered if once upon a time maybe this was the original entrance to the house, since this wooden door was centered on, was kind of centered to the room and centered to the house as a whole. So the whole month of July I was drywalling this space and it was a really big job. Thankfully, our contractor lent us his drywall lift. My husband and my father-in-law, Don, helped me with especially the ceiling and some of the higher up, hard to reach walls, but then all of the mudding and sanding, priming and painting was just me. So it took a while and I'm not the most experienced, but I think it turned out really, really great. You might remember back in August that I did a home tour. And on the home tour, I asked you guys about doing a black wall in the dining room. A lot of you were really apprehensive, but I went with it anyway because I wanted to pull the black cabinetry from the kitchen, that design, into the dining room. And I love how it turned out. It gives so much contrast and life to this dining room space. The other tricky thing was the ceiling. The ceiling in our kitchen was a blue pine and it had this tongue and groove way of connecting together. So when we took out the big wall closet that was there, that actually had a drop ceiling in it. So we had to kind of build out and then continue on that wood ceiling. I also did that all by myself And shout out to my reader, Steve, who sourced the tongue and groove blue pine for me so that I could get it to match. So after the drywall and the ceiling and everything was painted and done, then the next step was flooring. We wanted continuous flooring throughout our entire house. And if you watch my flooring video, you can learn more about why we chose glue down LVP and how much we are loving that. The area where we took out the wall needed significant self-leveling, and we did have to build up subfloor because the floors in the kitchen and the floors in the dining room were not the same height when we got started. So that was a big project, and I'm really glad we ended up hiring that out. I think I would have been really over my head if I tried to DIY that. But I will say that the reason we hired out when it came down to it was because I was tired. I had been working and working and working. And I'm just not as fast as somebody who has all the tools and experience to do things. So I was feeling really burnt out at this time by the end of August, and we just decided, let's get it done. Now the reason it's taken me this long to actually post this dining room makeover is because all of the trim work was also done by yours truly. And I used 1x4s. So I just bought the raw lumber, standard 1x4s actually. So they were inexpensive, but I had to really pick through to find ones that weren't bowed. So I had to sand, prime, and paint all of those before even being able to cut, install, caulk, and paint them. So that was a really big job, and I only finished that about 3 weeks ago. So compared to these major structural changes to our dining room, some of the DIYs that I did to finish the space seemed kind of insignificant, but I did DIY a light fixture, which I'll link that in the description of this video, the tutorial for my DIY light fixture. And then I also hung up some shelving and decorated that in the space between the two windows. I thought that the perfect time to share this dining room makeover with you guys would be for Thanksgiving. You can see in these photos of the after of our beautiful space that the tablescape I laid out is very festive for Thanksgiving with neutral, modern farmhouse colors. Now that the wall is gone, our kitchen and dining room is the ultimate entertaining space, and we can seat lots of people in here. Sometimes I'll flip my table to be horizontal instead of vertical in the space, and then I'll put up 2 folding tables on each side, and then we can seat 24 people in our space. So it's really, really amazing to have such a large area to gather and host. When we're not hosting huge parties, I just have a large rug in front of the patio door, and my kids use this a lot to run in and out of the house and play with neighborhood friends. I also placed the dresser that I did a makeover on that was really popular in the spring in this short wall between the entrance to our main floor bathroom and the kitchen, because it's filled with the kids' craft supplies, and it's really the perfect place since they typically do their crafts on either the kitchen table or the kitchen island. I will say that the process of home renovating, especially the interior of your home, like the kitchen area and stuff, while you're living in it is not for the faint of heart. And it was not an easy process to go through, but I am so glad we did it. And more than that, I'm glad that we're done and now living in a beautiful home. Thank you guys for watching this. Don't forget to tell me in the comments what you thought of this transformation, and if you were inspired by what we did to our home, then please share this video. Every share tells me that you want more content just like this on my page. Thanks for joining me. We'll catch you next time on Welcome to the Woods.